Hey guys, welcome back to CHGO Biology. Today we are going to discuss the SBP Paper 1 Biology Trials questions. So a lot of people say that SBP questions is one of the toughest questions amongst all the state paper. Is it true? Let's find it out. Alright, so let's look at the question 1 here. The following statement shows field of biological study. Study of the interactions between the organisms and the environment. So the keywords here is interactions between the organism and their environments. So the study of interactions as well, population with the environment. So right here, we can see two stuff here, the organism and the environment. Organism is the biotic factor and the environment will be the abiotic factor. When we're talking about the interaction between the abiotic and biotic, this will be our ecology. The biological study will be the ecology. Now, next questions. Diagram 1 shows an animal cell. Okay, so what is the structure Q? Q, obviously, it is the mitochondrion. Alright, what about this thing right here? This is the RER. Okay, this is the RER. Why is RER? Because we have a lot of ribosome attached to the RER. What about this one? This one will be the SER. Why SER? Because this is the structure that attached to the nucleus right in the middle. And then we have another thing here. This is the Golgi apparatus. Why is Golgi apparatus? Because it is not attaching to the nucleus. That's why it is the Golgi apparatus. Alright, so let's move on to the next questions here. Diagram 2 shows vascular bundle. So when we are talking about the vascular bundle, it refers to the whole things here. This is called the vascular bundle. So inside the vascular bundle, we have the phloem, xylem, and also structure X. Now you can see structure X is in between the phloem and the xylem, which means that X must be the vascular cambium. Okay, what is the functions of vascular cambium? Now we look at this, we look at the diagram here. The vascular bundle, the vascular cambium, they can actually undergo the cell divisions to produce more phloem cell and also the xylem tissue. So if you guys want to imagine, it will be like this. So try to imagine the red line. This is the vascular cambium. Vascular cambium. Okay, so the whole things here, this is the stem of the plants. Now, since vascular cambium, they will produce more xylem and phloem, and hence they will actually increase the diameter of the stem by growing horizontally in this way. Alright, so we look at the question here first. Which of the following is not the functions of X? Not the functions, guys. It is not the functions of X. Growth of the roots and the shoot tips. Growth of the roots and the shoot tips. When we are talking about the tips, it means that the plants want to grow vertically. Okay, they want to grow vertically. They want to increase the length so that they can get taller or get deeper into the ground in order to get more sunlight or in order to get more water. So this one is definitely not the answer. A is not the answer. It is not the function of X, so A is the answer. Alright, the next one, increase in diameter of the stem and the root of the plants. As I mentioned before, yes, the vascular cambium, they will divide and produce xylem and phloem in this way. So it is actually increasing the diameter of the stem or the root of the plants. And this growth is considered as the secondary growth. Okay, the growth is considered as the secondary growth. Now, what about the primary growth? Primary growth is this one. This is the primary growth. Alright, so it's a bit different between the primary growth and the secondary growth. Now let's move on to 4. Diagram 3 shows actions of the enzyme on sucrose. So this is the sucrose. This is the sucrose. And here will be the enzyme. Name X and Y. Alright, so okay, we can see the structure here. Sucrose is being broken down into two, Y and X. So X is referring to the whole things here. Y is referring to the whole things here because this sucrose is combining with the enzyme already. So it is the whole thing. We call it as a complex. Enzyme substrate complex. Okay, this whole thing is called the enzyme substrate complex. So let's say the enzyme is the enzyme that trying to digest the sucrose, then the enzyme should be the sucrase. Okay, so if the substrate is a sucrose, then the substrate will be sucrose complex. We can call it this name, or we can call it as an enzyme substrate complex. Now, how about Y? Y has been broken down by the enzyme, and supposedly Y will be the glucose or fructose. Because glucose and fructose, they will combine together to form the sucrose. So we are not sure what is Y. It's either glucose or fructose. It's okay. So let's look at the question here, options here first. We have the X as sucrase. X is not sucrase, X is the complex. Well, B and C are correct. Sucrase, sucrose, complex. Sucrase, sucrose, complex. So we look at the Y. Y, as we mentioned just now, is either glucose or the fructose. So sucrose definitely out, and the last answer should be glucose. Answer is B for question 4. Alright, so let's look at question 5 here. Diagram 4 shows a shirt with grease stain to be washed with a detergent containing enzyme at different temperature. Grease stain, we have the stain. What is the most suitable enzyme and temperature to be used? Okay, so since this is a grease containing a lot of lipids, or so-called fat. So if we want to digest the lipid by using the enzyme, we are going to use lipase. So protease out. The temperature here is 37 and 18. Of course, I will choose 37. Why? Because this is the human body temperature, and lipase work well under this temperature. So the answer should be A. Okay. Next one, question 6. The following is the word equation for the energy production through the process X. So what is X? Glucose produces ethanol. When you see the OL here, normally it is referred to the alcohol. Okay, alcohol. So we have the carbon dioxide and energy being produced after this process. So what is process X? Must be the alcohol fermentation. D. Question 7. Which of the following is the reason of oxygen debt to occur during vigorous exercise? Alright. Rapid breathing, increased heartbeat, high level of carbon dioxide in blood, oxygen demand exceeding oxygen supply. Now, all of this is kind of close to the example here, because when you are doing vigorous activity, your breathing rate must be very, very fast, correct or not? So this one, yep, is true. When you want to have more oxygen, you are going to increase your heartbeat when you are doing vigorous exercise. And high level of the carbon dioxide in the blood, yes, of course, because you are going to do a lot of exercise and produce a lot of carbon dioxide. So yes, this one also true. But the most correct answer to talk about the oxygen debt is actually oxygen demand is more than the oxygen supply. So you use more oxygen than the oxygen you took in. That's why we have the oxygen debt here. Alright, so next questions. Question 8. The following statements are related to the transport of carbon dioxide from the blood capillary to the alveolus in the lung. Oh, okay. So when you see this kind of questions, it's good for you to find out the last and the first one. So I always look for the last step of the whole process. So R must be the last one. Carbon dioxide diffuses through the blood capillary into the alveolus and expelled during exhalation, because this is a final destination of the carbon dioxide already. You want to remove the carbon dioxide from your body, and this is the process. So R must be the last one. Oh god, all the R are the last one in the options. Now no choice, then we need to find out the first one. We need to find out the first one. The bicarbonate ions combine again with the hydrogen ion to form carbonic acid, and in the blood capillaries, the bicarbonate ions in the blood plasma diffuse back into the erythrocyte. Alright guys, so for those who have no idea how to do these questions, do not attempt this question yet. Watch my video above before you attempt to do these questions. Alright, for those who know how to do this question, maybe you can just look at my brief explanation right here. Now, if we want to remove our carbon dioxide from our body to the environment, we are going to use our red blood cell to transport the carbon dioxide all the way from the tissue to the lungs. But we cannot just transport carbon dioxide, this compound. We need to convert it into something else. That one is called a bicarbonate ion. And this bicarbonate ion will be diffused back into the plasma. Then this bicarbonate ion will flow with the blood all the way to the lungs. Here, when they reach the lungs, then this bicarbonate ion will diffuse back into the erythrocyte. But the thing is, we are going to remove the carbon dioxide, not the bicarbonate ion. That's why after the bicarbonate ion diffuse back into the red blood cell, we are going to convert back to the carbonic acid. This carbonic acid is something that we don't want yet. So we want to break down the carbonic acid into two molecules, which is the water and also the CO2. So once we have the CO2 already, then it's time for us to expel the CO2 from our body to the environment. That's why we look at these questions here. The first step of this process must be the bicarbonate ions in the blood plasma diffuse back into the erythrocyte. So this is the ID here, diffuse back into the erythrocyte. After that, it will be converted into carbonic acid. P will be the second step. The bicarbonate ion combines again with the hydrogen ion to form the carbonic acid. So this is the second step, this is the first step. The third step will be the carbonic acid will break down into carbon dioxide and water, which is here. While it's being broken down, we will release the carbon dioxide, through the capillaries into the alveolus and expel it during exhalation. So this is the fourth step. So in the end, the answer should be QPSR. So the answer will be A. Continue with question 9. Diagram 5 shows a device often used by the patient to help in breathing to treat the disease X. How does this device help to treat disease X? Now this is the device that used to treat the patients with asthma. When people is having asthma attack, their bronchial tube is going to collapse. So when their bronchial tube is going to collapse, you are going to take in these medicines in order to make it open so that they can breathe in again. So the answer for this question is, you are going to reduce the inflammation and widen the path in the bronchial tube and let the air to move in so that they can breathe again. Answer is A for these questions. Alright, so let's move on to question 10. Diagram 6 shows a part of human digestive system. We have A, we have D, we have B and C here. Which structures label A, B, C, D produce bile? Now, please be careful with these words, produces bile. The bile is being produced by the liver. So this is the organ that produces the bile. But eventually, this bile will move into the D. D is the gallbladder. Gallbladder will not produce the bile. Instead, it will just store the bile. So if the question asks you which one produces the bile, then the answer should be A, liver, not gallbladder. Alright? So gallbladder only store the bile for storing purposes, for storing. Now look at question 11. Diagram 7 shows structures of villus. We have M is the capillary, N is the lacteal. Okay, N is the lacteal. Which of the following pairs of nutrients and methods of absorptions in M and N? Now, capillaries only absorb the water-soluble nutrients, but for the lacteals, they absorb lipid-soluble nutrients. So we want to find out which one is lipid-soluble, which one is water-soluble, then you can get the answer already. Alright, so let's look at the options here. Which of the following pairs of nutrients and methods of absorptions in M and N? M is the capillary, as we mentioned just now. N will be the lacteal. So lacteal only absorb those fatty acid, the fat soluble nutrients. N will be the one which absorb water soluble nutrients. So let's look at which one is the water soluble, which one is the fat soluble. We'll start with the M. Amino acid, yes. Glucose, yes. Glycerol, no. Glycerol and fatty acid, so definitely it is not being absorbed into the blood capillary. Vitamin B. Now guys, vitamin B, A, D, E, K, they are the fat soluble vitamin. B, C, they are the water soluble vitamin. So B is definitely yes. Okay, it's definitely yes. Water. Now let's continue with N. N. Glucose, no, it is a water soluble. Fatty acid, yes, it is the fat soluble. ADEK. Okay, ADEK is a fat one. Okay, so A is correct. C is no, because C is the water soluble vitamin. Now the answer for here is obviously the answer will be B. Okay, now remember, for amino acid and glucose, for the nutrients absorptions of glucose and amino acid, confirm using active transport. Why active transport? Because we want to get as much as glucose and amino acid back to our body. So we must use active transport here. Okay, so please remember this. This is important. Now let's move on to question 12. Diagram 1, table 1 shows the result of an experiment to determine the energy value of a groundnut. We have the mass, blah blah blah. So the specific heat capacity is 4.2. Calculate the energy value of groundnut per gram. So if you guys want to calculate the energy value, you are going to use the formula. Okay, as we mentioned before, if you want to calculate the energy value, you are going to put all the formula that is related, all the number that's related to water on top of the line. On top of the line. Alright, so you look at this. Mass of the groundnut. Groundnut is food. So we are going to put it below the line. Mass of water related to water, we are going to put it on top of the line. Okay, times initial temperature of water, final temperature of water related to water, we are going to put on top of the line. But be careful that we are going to find out the difference between the final temperature of water and the initial temperature of water. So you use 55 degree minus 28, and then you will get 27 degrees Celsius. Okay, you minus, then you put it on top of the line. Alright, so next you are going to put the heat capacity of water, okay, on top of the line as well. Related to water, you put it on top of the line. Alright, so one more thing. If you guys want to convert it into kJ, you guys are going to divide the whole formula with 1000 so that you guys can convert it into kJ. Now let's do the calculation here. 20 times 27 times 4.2 divided by 0.8 divided by 1000 again. So the answer should be 2.835. 2.835. So the answer must be B. Okay, let's move on to question 13. Diagram 8 shows structure X which formed during the blood clotting process. What is structure X? Structure X is the fibrinogen or the fibrin. Okay, the answer for this question is fibrin. Now, what is fibrinogen? Fibrinogen is the soluble fiber. For fibrin, it is the insoluble fiber. It must be insoluble, then only it can start to trap the red blood cell, correct or not? So the answer should be D. Alright, so let's move on. Diagram 9 shows a formation of fluid P, which diffuse into the lymphatic capillary to form liquid Q. Which of the following is the difference in compositions between the fluid P and fluid Q? So fluid P is called the tissue fluid, or we can call it as interstitial fluid as well. It has two names, guys. And then Q is the fluid can be found in the lymphatic capillary. So Q must be the lymph. Okay. So we look at the options one by one. Fluid P, low contents of erythrocyte. Yes, okay, fluid P confirm low content of erythrocyte. Why? Because erythrocyte red blood cell is too big to diffuse across the plasma membrane into the space between the cell. So in P, we don't have red blood cell. Okay, we don't have red blood cell here. Okay, so this one definitely no for the answer. Low content of lymphocyte, yes, okay, it also low content in lymphocyte, but instead, inside the lymph, we have high content of lymphocyte. This one is correct. Low content of lipid, yes. High content of lipid, yes. You guys still remember lactose? Lactose is one of the structure that can absorb the lipid-soluble nutrients. So supposedly, inside the lymph, we will have a lot of lipids here. So 2 and 3, correct. Low content of vitamin C, high contents of vitamin C. Now, vitamin C is the water soluble. So supposedly, in Q, it should have low level of vitamin C. And in P, we should have high contents of vitamin C. So 4 and 1 are wrong. Answer is B for these questions. Let's move on to question 15. So question 15 is talking about the synapse. Okay, what is synapse? Synapse is actually the space in between. Okay, it's called a synapse. Okay, synapse. Why does the synaptic knob contains numerous structure K? Okay, structure K is what? Structure K is the mitochondrion. Okay, mitochondria, of course, the only function is to provide the energy. Why they want to provide the energy? Because you can see the vesicle is going to move towards the end of the synaptic knob. So, moving need energy. Mitochondria provide the energy for them to move. Makes sense, correct or not? So, you want to generate energy for the transmissions of the nerve impulse. So question 15 must be B. Okay, question 16. Which of the following ABC does not contain amino acid? Okay, this question is actually very simple. Amino acid, it is nutrients that will be 100% being absorbed back into our blood capillary. So A will be the place where the reabsorptions of amino acid happens 100%. All the amino acid will be reabsorbed. Now, when the fluid moves to C, definitely in the C, there's no amino acid anymore. So the answer should be C for these questions. Okay. Let's move on to question 17. Diagram 12 shows the health issue related to the musculoskeletal system experienced by pregnant women. Okay, I can see the keywords here. Pregnant women. because of lack of calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin D in the daily nutrition. What's the health problem? Wow, this is the answer. All the answers here are close. Rickets, arthritis, osteoporosis, osteomalacia. Alright, so rickets and arthritis definitely out. But how about osteoporosis and osteomalacia? Now, osteoporosis is also referring to the lack of calcium. Okay, lack of calcium. Vitamin D or phosphorus. But then osteomalacia also the same. But what is the difference between the osteoporosis and osteomalacia? Osteoporosis is talking about the bones, it is porous. The bones got a lot of holes in the middle, low density of the bones. But when we talk about osteomalacia, osteomalacia is actually talking about the bones, okay, it's not hardening. It's not hardening. Osteomalacia is normally happens to the pregnant woman. Right here, we are talking about the pregnant woman. Since we are talking about the pregnant woman here, the best answer for this question is osteomalacia. Alright, so let's continue with question 18. Question 18. Based on the diagram 13, what happened to the muscle during the conditions? You are trying to lift up your leg, so you must contract your... When you're trying to lift up your leg, you are trying to contract your calf muscle here. Okay, you want to contract your calf muscle so that you can lift up your leg. So here we just need to look for the calf muscle. Okay, so the right calf muscle contract to lift up the heel. Then this one should be the answer. Okay, question 19. Diagram 14 shows oogenesis process that occur in the ovary. We are trying to release the secondary oocyte. What is the hormone that stimulates the releasing of structure X from the Graafian follicles? The answer here should be the LH, because LH is involved in the stimulations of the ovulation. Right, ovulation. That's why when you guys look at the graph, right before the ovulation, there's a surge of the LH. There's a surge of the LH. So this surge of the LH is to stimulate the production of the secondary oocyte. Question 20. Diagram 15 shows growth curve of a grasshopper. Okay, growth curve. Why? You can see the body length suddenly increase a lot, okay, during stage 1. Which of the following occurs during process Y? The insect is actively inhaling the air. Why? Because it already removed, it shed the skeleton, it shed the exoskeleton. Now it's time for them to grow. So how to grow larger in a very short time? They will eat a lot and they will inhale a lot of air into their body. So once they inhale a lot of air into their body, they can enlarge their body size in a very short time. So this is the answer for questions 20. Okay guys, making a video like this is not easy. I need to do a lot of research and I need to spend a lot of time to make this video for you guys so that I can help you to save some time in your study. So I really appreciate that if 80% of these people who is watching this video subscribe to my channel. Okay, question 21. Diagram 16 shows the menstrual cycle for Madam P for the month of July 2021. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 menstruations. Okay, you can see the diagram here is talking about the menstruation. Look at the key here. Which of the following shows the changes of the hormonal levels in Madam P blood from 12 to 18? Okay, so 12 to 18 is referring to the date after menstruation. 12 to 18, that means the uterus is trying to repair the wall, the endometrium wall. So in this stage, okay, they want to prepare for the next ovulation. So when they want to prepare for the next ovulation, the estrogen here and the LH here must be increased. Okay, must be increased so that they can prepare for the next ovulation. The answer should be A. Okay, next, question 22. Diagram 17 shows the growth curve of one type of plants. Name the types of plants that represent the growth curve. Okay, so this one you can see it has, you look at the x-axis, this one is important, the time. It can survive up to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 10 years. So you can see there are a lot of sigmoid curve here. Small sigmoid curve, small sigmoid curve. So this one refer to the 1 sigmoid curve, and this one refer to the 2 sigmoid curve. That means they will keep on repeating the cycle when they grow. So the answer here, annual plants is 1 year, okay? Biennial plants is 2 years. Perennial plants, infinity. Okay, they will keep on repeating the cycle. So the answer should be C. Answer here, C. Question 13. Diagram 18 shows the cross sections of the organelle A, B, C, and D. Which of the label structure ABCD is the organelle thylakoid? So the thylakoid is actually referring to the pancakes. Okay, it's referring to the pancake. So the pancake here should be C. Okay, the pancake. This is the pancake. D is the inner membrane. Okay. A is the stroma. Okay, A is the stroma. 24. Diagram 19 shows a various lignin thickening pattern in tissue X. Okay, what is tissue X? In the exam, when you keep on seeing this kind of things, a tube with different patterns we always use this diagram. Okay, to be honest, we always use this diagram to indicate this is the xylem. Okay, xylem got different patterns so you guys must remember this one. Okay, different patterns must be the xylem. Question 25. Diagram 20 shows one of the phytoremediation methods to nuclear plants area. We have the sunflower here. Okay, sunflower. Based on the diagram 20, what is the substance that can be eliminated by the plants? So the sunflower, they are very strong plants that can remove the radioactive substances. So your job is to find out which one got radioactive Magnesium no, mercury no, lead is no, cesium is a radioactive substances. So it's going to be removed by the sunflower. Answer D. Question 26. Diagram 21.1 shows the setup of photometer apparatus to study the effect of the transpiration pool on the water transport. So 21.2 shows the result of experiment during the still air and windy air. So as the time goes, windy air, still air, the mass of the photometer is increasing. The mass of the photometer is increasing. Now, supposingly, we are talking about the transpiration here, which means that, let's say this is the photometer. Okay, we are going to use back this diagram. Let's say we have a windy day. So the water will evaporate faster away from the plants, through the leaf. So the mass of the photometer should decrease dramatically, not increasing. And this is not increasing, it should be decreased. Okay, for still air, you still have the transpiration, but transpiration is not that much. So the still air should decrease slowly. Okay, it's okay. Maybe this graph is having some problem. We look at the options here. Which of the following statements are correct? On a windy day, transpiration pool increases while the mass of the photometer decreases. Yes, okay, this one supposedly is the answer. Why? Because when you are having a transpirations, it will create a transpiration pool all the way from the roots to the leaf. Okay, the transpiration pool will increase because the transpiration rate is increases, then the transpiration pool also will increase. So in the end, the mass of the photometer will decrease. Yeah, that one is definitely a correct answer. So this diagram is wrong. Alright, so next one, mass of the podometer decreases in still air compared during windy, which means that windy does not decrease and still air decrease. This one is wrong. Okay, this one is wrong. Mass of podometer decrease due to high water loss during the windy day. Yes, during windy day, we have the high transpiration rate. High transpiration rate. So the podometer mass will decrease because of that. 3 and 1 correct. The water level in the jar decreases and reduces the mass of the podometer during the still air. Supposingly, the water level in the jar will decrease and reduce the mass of the podometer during the still air, but it will be very slow compared to the windy day. But the options here only got 2 options, so the answer will be 1 and 3. Option 4 is also correct, okay, but 4 is not the best answer for this question, so I will choose 1 and 3, A for these questions. Alright, so question 27. Diagram 22 shows response that's shown by the structure X. We have this tendrils holding on a stick here, the wooden stick. What is the response and function of X? So we have the thigmonasty and thigmotropism, but you can see the nasty here, the Y, the I, wrong spelling. Okay, this one is Y, thigmonasty. So if you want to do this question, you are going to know what is the tropism and the nasty first. Tropism and nasty. Tropism is the response that the plants will respond towards the directions. Okay, so how to memorize this one is towards the directions. Okay, towards the directions. When talking about the nasty, okay, and A, no directions. So it's very easy for you to understand, okay, and find out the answer from this question. You look at these questions, the dendril is trying to respond to the stimulus, okay, that is given by the wooden stick. So it is responding towards the stick, and then that one is with the directions, okay, with the direction. So this answer should not be nasty, alright, it should not be nasty. So A and C are wrong. So left B and D. Let's look at the functions here. Respond towards touch by wrapping the object. Respond towards vibration for wrapping the object. So the dendril is going to touch the wooden stick, and then only it will be wrapped on the object. So supposedly it will respond towards the touch. Answer should be B. Okay, answer should be B. Alright, so let's look at question 28. Diagram 23 shows a method to induce ripening of banana. What is the purpose of these methods? It's going to trap the ethylene. Okay, it's going to trap the ethylene. Answer should be D. Diagram 24 shows the longitudinal sections of the flower. We have P, Q, R, S. Right. So which of the following structure of female reproductive organs? Female reproductive organs is the organ in the middle. Okay, in the middle. So Q and S. Answer should be C for these questions. Question 30. Which of the following is correct sequence for the formations of embryo sac? Right, so this question you guys need to know the whole process of the embryo sac. Basically, it's like this. 2N, it will start to carry out meiosis. Okay, it will start to carry out meiosis. Meiosis to form a megaspore cell. Okay, 4 megaspore cell. Once it forms 4 megaspore cell, it will start to one of the megaspore cell, it will start to carry out the mitosis. Okay, how many times? 3 times mitosis to form total egg cells. Okay, egg cells. So this is the whole process of the formation of the embryo sac. So let's look at the options here. Okay, I'm sure the first cell is the 2N cell. The 2N cell. This 2N cell, it will start to carry out meiosis, and this meiosis will form 4 megaspore cells. Based on this diagram, you can see one cell will form 2 cells eventually. I'm sure this is considered as the meiosis 1. And then it will form 4 cells eventually, okay, through meiosis 2. Meiosis 1 and 2 eventually will form 4 cells. But this 4 megaspore cell, only one cell is important, and it will start to develop. So yeah, you can see one of the cells start to develop, and the other cell will just degenerate. Okay, these 3 cells will just degenerated. So ABC still correct. Okay, but D is definitely out because I don't know what is this. Okay, so it's okay. We just focus on A, B, and C lah. Hold on. So this cell will develop. Okay, here this arrow showing you develop. Okay, develop. So this cell will develop first. This cell will develop first. Okay, it will start to develop first. So C is wrong because it formed egg cell before it developed. So basically C is out as well. So it will develop and then only carry out 3 times of mitosis. Okay, 3 times of mitosis to form egg cell. So 3 times of mitosis to form egg cell. So the answer here should be B. Okay, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 egg cell here. So the answer is B for this question. Alright, so let's continue with question 31. Diagram 25 shows the pollen grains that are attached onto the stigma. We have the stigma, we have the pollen grains, we have the style here. How many of seed produced if all the pollen grains are successfully to germinate? Okay, so we have how many pollen grains here? 1, 2, 3 pollen grains. And here we have 6 ovules. Okay, 6 ovules. We only have 3 pollen grains. That means they can only fertilize 3 ovules, and eventually it will develop into the seed. So maximum 3 seeds will be produced. Okay, answer is B. Question 32. Diagram 26 shows the structure of specialized tissue in a type of plants. We have a lot of air space here. Why we need to have a lot of air space? Because we want the plants to float. That means these plants, they live in water. So this one should be very easy. The answer here should be D, hydrophytes. Okay, hydrophytes. Hydro means water ma. Hydro means water. Phytes means habitats. So it's living in the water as a habitat. Question 33. Diagram 27 shows a prokaryotic microorganism. Has a flagellum, DNA, and capsule. Which of the following is the characteristic of the prokaryotes? Okay, so the main idea of pro means before. Okay, before. Karyotes refer to the nucleus. That means the nucleus is not fully developed yet. Okay, for these prokaryotes. So the answer here should be has no nuclear membrane. The nuclear membrane is not well developed yet. So it doesn't have a very good or well developed nuclear membrane. So answer is D for these questions. Alright, let's look at the question 34. Diagram 28 shows part of the nitrogen cycle. We have, okay, all these things, A, B, C, D. Which process A, B, C, D does decompositions process occur? Decomposition is coming from a living things once they die and they are being decomposed by the saprophytes organism. So we want to find out which is the animals here. Nitrogen, no. Okay, nitrate, protein in the plants. Okay, we have the plants here and we have the animals here. So animals and plants will be decomposed after they die. So here the answer should be C. It will be decomposed into the ammonium in the soil. Okay, to form the ammoniums in the soil. So answer is C for this question. Question 35, guys. Question 35. What happens to the owl population if fox dies? Fox dies. owl populations. So the owl got more food to eat, so it will increase in population. Okay, it will increase because there will be more rat, beetles, rabbits for them to eat. Yes, okay, answer should be B. Alright, so let's look at question 36. What is the percentage frequency of Mimosa critica in the area? Okay, if you guys want to find out the frequency, you are going to count which quadrates has the organism. Okay, so we have the first one, second, third, 9, 10, 6, okay, and 5. Total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, okay, of the quadrates has the species. So out of 10. So this is the frequency, 7 out of 10. That means 70% of the frequency. The answer is 70%. Question 37. Diagram 31 shows the structure of chromosome. Which of the following is R? R that belongs to the same locus. Okay, same place. I mean, so same place. R must be the gene. R must be the gene. We have two snails here. Which of the following explain the types of the variations? Okay, when we come to the variations, we can see the shell is different shape. Okay, they are having different shape of shell. If we have different shape of shell, we are going to call this as discontinuous variation. Discontinuous variation. Discontinuous variation because the characteristic is distinct, is discrete. So if I ask you, what is the shape of your shell? It's either the spherical shell or the oblong shell. So there is only two answers. There's no more than that. That's why we call it as a discontinuous variations. Okay, so look at this. Continuous variation, no. Continuous variation, no. Discontinuous variation, yes. Because it is controlled by a pair of genes, yes, this one is correct. Discontinuous variation because the size is different. Now, when we're talking about the size, for example, like size, height, okay, height and weight, all these are the continuous variation. Okay, because your answer is not distinct. Your answer is not distinct. For example, I ask you, what is your weight? Maybe you will tell me 55 kg, or maybe tomorrow you tell me 55.1, or maybe 55.2. There's a thing that the characteristic is not so sure. Okay, there is an intermediate characteristic for the continuous variation. That's why size, height, weight, they are the continuous variation. D is not the answer. The answer should be C for these questions. Last two questions, guys. A person with Klinefelter syndrome is born with 47 chromosomes. Which of the following is the cause of this condition? 47 chromosome is due to the non-disjunctions, or chromosome non-disjunction. So this is happened due to the something happened to the cell division. Something happened to the cell division part. Okay, so we want to find out the options which is related to the cell divisions. Mutation happened during the production of secondary oocyte. Okay, this might be correct. Let's KIV first. More than one sperm fused with the ovum? No, definitely. Only one sperm will fuse with one worm only. Okay, that is impossible to have more than one sperm to fuse with the ovum. Radiation caused the change of the structure in the gene of the sperm? No. Okay, it's not talking about gene, it's talking about cell division. So the mother was exposed to harmful chemicals while she is pregnant. This one also no. The answer should be A. So if mutation happens to the production of secondary oocyte, so maybe the secondary oocyte is consisting one extra chromosome or one less or less one chromosome. That one is the main idea. So the answer should be A. Question 40. Which of the following steps is involved in genetic engineering technique to produce human insulin? Okay. The answer here should be B. The human insulin gene is inserted into the bacterial DNA. So we do something like this. So let's say this is the bacterial plasmid. We are going to insert our gene. Okay, this gene is the insulin gene. Okay, the insulin gene. We want to put it into the plasmid of the bacteria so that this bacteria can produce the insulin. And this is one of the technique of the genetic engineering technique. So answer is B. Well, we look at the question A, guys. We look at the questions A. This is something that is very tricky. The insulin gene is taken from any somatic human cell. Just for you to know, extra knowledge, somatic human cell, actually all the cells, they are consisting the insulin gene. Okay, insulin gene, because DNA can be found in all the cells, correct? Not DNA can be found in all the cells. So supposedly, any somatic human cell should consist the insulin gene. But one point, when it comes to here, we want to produce the insulin gene. You try to think about this. Where the insulin being produced, which part of our organ will produce the insulin? Pancreas, right? Pancreas. Why only pancreas can produce the insulin? Because the gene, the insulin gene in the pancreas cell is activated. How about other cell? Other cell is deactivated. So other cell, they cannot produce the insulin. Only the pancreatic cell, they can produce the insulin. Because the insulin gene inside the pancreatic cell, they are being activated. So when we are doing this kind of a process, we want to produce the insulin, we will use the DNA, the insulin gene from the pancreatic cell rather than other somatic cell. So this answer should not be A. We will choose B. Okay, so the answer is B. So please be careful, guys. Alright, so guys, that's all for today. I hope you guys can learn something from this video. Okay, please remember to give a subscribe or like before you leave the video. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.